Hello, this is my video blog on teaching technologies to other teachers. There are two parts to this video. In the first part, I talk about how I taught the preschool teacher, Nicole Kress, how to use the Promethean board as a means to color for one of her students. The second part will state the process I used to show a special education teacher in the resource room how to use an app I found called Sketch. Here is the first part. At the beginning of the new year, our school district got another student that has been diagnosed with autism. Since this other teacher had heard I was doing great things with my student who has autism as well, in regards to incorporating various assistive technologies, she asked me for help. The teacher was Nicole Kress, who is a preschool teacher, and she is new to this school district as well. Not being familiar with preschool and the requirements needed, I sat down to see what in particular she was requiring of her students. I felt this was important because I wanted the advice I provided her to support her cause instead of being generic. She shared with me that her student needed to work on his fine motor skills. After further discussion, it was found that one of his goals is being able to write and use a writing utensil appropriately. One way this can be mastered is by practicing how to hold a crayon to color. Her problem is that this particular student does not like to complete assignments on paper because he thinks it is work, and he becomes extremely frustrated. I had experience with this exact situation with one of my students, except that he doesn't like completing work on paper because of the texture. Since she had a Promethean board in her room, one of the solutions we came up with was using the Promethean board as a means for him to complete his coloring pages. Nicole did not attend the Promethean training provided by the school district over the summer on how to operate the software and the board, so I took about 30 minutes to teach her some of the basics. I started off by showing her the ActiveInspire software used to manage the board and some of its features. Since she was familiar with Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, I did not have to spend much time on it, as many of the features are the same. Since my ultimate goal was to teach her how to use the board so her student could work on his fine motor skills, I spent most of the time teaching her how to use the board to manipulate the computer. We started off by having Nicole take the pen and simply write on the board to show that it can be a big whiteboard. Then I continued by talking her through the steps on how to change the type of pen, its width, the color, and how to erase. From where I continued From there I continued by walking her through the process of inserting shapes, text, and importing images from other places. Since accuracy and neatness are typical of students with autism, I showed her how to lock the image into place so it will not move as the child is coloring. Lastly, I let her know that she could print off the work too. This made her happy because she could finally show the parent some of the child's actual work. To make sure that Nicole understood the process, I had a quick quiz for her to complete. I had her imagine that the day was just beginning and that her student was walking in the door and needed to complete his assignment. She followed along and with a little prompting was able to pull up the software, find the image, lock it into place so it could be colored. Then she continued by going through and after it was colored, actually printing it off so she would have a hard copy. Now, this is the second part. Due to personal reasons, the case manager for one of my special education students had to change for this last 9 weeks. With these changes taking place, the special education teacher needed to know how the app Sketch worked so she would be able to assist the student if there happened to be a problem, since it is an app it is used on a daily basis for the student to complete his assignments. This teacher's name is Mrs. Susky. It took us about 20 minutes for the two of us to sit down and review the main functions of the app. I started off by giving her some background information on the app and its functions by watching a short video tutorial I had found online. Then I had her find the app on the student's iPad and open it up. Then I had her practice some of the functions that had been mentioned in the video. Some of the things we practiced were how to make pictures, add text, change the size of the font, and how to print it. Since all of these assignments are typically completed on the device, it is important that she was familiar with the process. Sorry, my dog's trying to get up. After the brief meeting, I had a scenario for Mrs. Susky to complete as a way for me to see if she really understood how the app worked. I had brought with me a Saxon page that had required her to draw lines, highlight text, and respond to a short answer question. So I asked her to follow the process that the student would, which included taking pictures of the page, completing the assignment, and then printing it to be turned in. Much to my surprise, the lesson must have been successful because she was able to complete the task with minimal help. This concludes my video on how I taught two other individuals how to use technology with their students.